One of the classes that I teach is the Introduction to Management and Computing course, and it's a unique course. It's geared toward seniors, well, actually kids that had just graduated from high school before they come into their freshman semester of Purdue, and they take about 4 classes in that summer. So I actually literally get them walking off the stage and into my classroom from high school, which is a really nice kind of interesting twist there because most of the students I teach tend to be juniors and seniors. And in that situation, the kids are part of the business opportunity program in the Krannert School of Management, which gives them a lot of opportunity to look at the Krannert School of Management, but also to get used to what's going on, to get engaged, to form a little cohort with themselves, to really set themselves up to succeed when they come to Krannert and to Purdue. You know, these are kids that are coming into the business opportunity program. So here's an opportunity for us to do something above and beyond just the Microsoft Office suite. So I came up with an idea of, how do we maybe deliver the idea of using the technology with the life lessons? And so one of the things I thought about was how can I deliver or develop assignments that actually have kind of a takeaway with them, not just the skill, but a takeaway as well. So I thought, okay, with Microsoft Word, we want them to be able to do boldfacing, italics, understand how to manipulate a document. But what's a good document that's a good takeaway for them? And so I thought, well, these are freshmen coming in, they're business students, eventually they're going to have to get a job. Why don't we go ahead and have them work on their resume? So that's their assignment. Now, many of them, of course, will get an A on that assignment, at least from the idea of did they boldface, did they italicize, did they underline, etc. But when they get those resumes back, the gasp in the room is very audible. It's covered in red. And what I've gone and done is, of course, looked at the stuff that's regarding the word side of things, but also I look at the resume for the content, for the way that it's presented, for the kind of things. Having been a recruiter out in industry, I know what recruiters are looking for. Having been a faculty member since the 1990s, I know what companies are looking for in students. And so I try to help these students with those resumes and really push them to try to have them completed, polished, changed, updated, and everything by the time they finish the summer. And the main reason for that is they don't necessarily know this, but I know that, for example, the Krannert Career Fair is next week. When we do Excel, one of the things that I try to do with them is rather than just have some general assignments, which they do have some just to work on their skills, but I also talk about the idea of financial planning. We talk about the idea of retirement accounts, which sounds odd to an 18-year-old, but one of the things that we all learn later on in life as we get a little bit more wisdom and a little bit more understanding about money is time is your friend. And for them to understand at 18 that if they start thinking about putting that money aside then, rather than waiting like I did until I was 29 or 30, there's a big advantage there. So it's a chance to not just teach them the idea of the Excel, but then to teach them, here's the future value formula. Here's what it looks like. Here's how your money grows. And here's what happens if you wait until you're 40. Here's how little it is. Here's what happens if you start when you're 22, right after you get out of college, or even before. In the case of if you get an internship with that resume that I helped you polish, maybe you'll make some money and you can start investing even earlier. From the PowerPoint component, one of the things I try to get them to think about is how do they present themselves. And I work toward the idea of them honing what we call the elevator speech. How do you talk about yourself in a minute or 2 minutes? A later assignment that we have is a LinkedIn assignment that we have them do that they then have to take what they did on their resumes, et cetera, and find a different way to present themselves in an online fashion as well. So there's really kind of this building of a portfolio kind of activity that comes into play. About 5 or 6 years ago, I worked with Dr. Hal Kirkwood, who's in the Purdue Libraries, and Hal's been very instrumental around Purdue in doing a lot of things with information literacy. So Hal comes in and guest lectures with the students and kind of co-teaches with me on this to introduce them to the various resources that are out there. The vast majority of the students do Google searches for their research, and the problem is you don't know what you're getting in a Google search. So Hal shows them a lot of the very reputable resources, the ones that Purdue pays hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars for in subscription rates and things like that, to be able to show them how to get to the kind of data, the kind of information that companies use when they're making business decisions. and then we turn them loose in teams and we give them kind of a scenario. We want you to give advice to a board of directors about whether they should expand into a particular industry area. I sometimes feel like Mr. Miyagi in the Karate Kid. I've got them doing the wax on and the wax off and paint the fence and things like that. And they're not overly happy all the time while class is going on. But I think where the payoff comes is in a week when I go to the Krannert Career Fair. I'm going to see a large number of those freshmen walking around with their resumes in hand. I'm going to hear about them talking about, and whether they got an internship or they didn't, the experience that they had. I've had students that have come back and said, hey, I got an internship and I got paid. And by the way, I took that advice that you told us during that summer and I've invested already in an IRA. And the kid's 19 and he's already got an IRA from money that he's earned. So I know that these things work out. The literacy components, we know that they work out. We see these same kids in a lot of our case competitions, and not when they're seniors, but when they're sophomores, early on, jumping into the fray because they have the tool sets and the ability to be able to move in.